All right, here we are. Got a little Elvis surprise for you. So here we are in Mandeville, Louisiana with Richard Sanderson, and we are standing next to his 1957 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. But as always with us, there's an Elvis connection.
Back in the early 1990s was the first time I saw this vehicle. And I came across it from a friend of a friend. You know the way it is down here. Everybody knows somebody.
Sure.
So I saw the car sitting under a carport, and it just caught my eye. It was under a car cover. And it was an older gentleman that had the car, and struck up a conversation with him and said, look, it's one of these deals where if you ever go to sell the car, here's my name and number, let me know.
Sure.
And time went on, and it was just one of those things. A decade went by, and I was still trying to chase the car. So finally, I went by his house one day for some unrelated things, and he said, look, you're still interested in that car? And I said, I am. And he says, okay, I want you to come by this weekend. And that's when we went through a couple of things, and some recipes were exchanged, and things other than money were exchanged, but that was the motivating factor. And we worked the deal out, and before we were able to finish it, Katrina hit.
Wow.
And when Katrina hit, that was the end of everything. Everything took a back seat for a while. So then, after we were able to come back, a few months later, we come in and finish the deal. I thought the car was flooded. I thought it was history. But it was in one of those areas that just barely skated through.
Wow.
So I went over there, checked on the car, it was fine. And then we worked the deal out with the owner, picked it up, I brought it home, and then it went into storage. It was told to me that the car was purchased by Elvis during one of his first contract signings when he made his first real,
Break.
haymaker. Yeah.
Sure.
But a lot of the paperwork was in the gentleman's office that had owned the car, and that was under 11 foot of water.
Oh, wow.
So we really didn't know what the connection was. So I purchased the car.
You purchased it in good
purchased
faith.
It in good faith. Really didn't care, you know. It was a thing where I just liked the car for what it was. But we sent off to the GM Historical Society, and that's where they wrote us back and said, yeah, it fell in a purchase order of multiple cars from Southern Motors in downtown Memphis, that all these vehicles were purchased in one shot, and that's where we went from there. So we chased that lead down, and then we're able to get in touch with several people subsequently after that, and they all confirmed it and went on from there, and here we are today.
Wow. So, in essence, Elvis went in and bought a batch of cars.
As I understand it, he purchased all of the vehicles, all the higher-end vehicles, on the showroom floor late at night. It was like 10 or 11 at night. He went in and said, give me all of those, and I'll take those and those too. And gave them away like we give away postcards and presents at Christmas. And this one was not his, from what I understand. It was given to a young lady that worked at Sun Records. And she kept the car for many years, and then it passed through at least one other person before the gentleman who had it when I purchased the car. Passed through at least one other person before he got it.
Okay. And from a car perspective, I mean, this is a highly optioned car.
It has every option in it. It came factory with 2 4-barrels. It came with cruise control, 6-way power seats, air conditioning, the Autotronic eye we were talking about, which is a really strange piece. There was multiple stages of it, but apparently it was developed in conjunction with Walt Disney for all the the things that the robots and all that they had in the Futureland and so forth at Disneyland. And apparently he developed these boxes that would, in certain circumstances, react different ways. It was like the Autotronic type, automatrons or something they called them at Disneyland. But what this one will do is, if it sees the color red, it will, through the lens on the dashboard, it will put a buzzer on the dashboard if you don't hit the brakes within a certain period of time.
Wow.
So if you have the cruise control on and you are driving along and you don't hit the brakes, and it sees brakes in front of you, the color red, it's going to set off a warning buzzer. If you're driving through a red light and it senses the color red on the red light in front of you and you don't hit the brakes within a period of time, it's going to turn the warning light on. So it's kind of like they have today with, adaptive braking and adaptive cruise control. That's kind of how that works.
Very futuristic.
The gentleman that owned it before, his wife did not like the color that it was, and it was glade green on the bottom and white on the top. All AC cars had, in this year, had a white top. So the body color was glade green, and his wife didn't like that color. So she asked him to change it, and he painted it with Krylon white paint in his carport. It looks good from 20 feet away, but when you come up to it, you can tell this is not something from even Earl Scheib's standards.
I think it looks pretty good. I think you might be a little harsh, but as they say, it's a 20-footer or a number 3 drive or something. But the interior, I got a glimpse earlier. Could you carefully peek inside? Because it looked very clean and very original.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And the power windows too, and they all work, and you don't have to have the key on to open the windows.
There is nothing like that old car smell.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. It takes me back to being a kid. So this is the color scheme in here, the greens and the creams, and is all original.
It's totally original. The car has, the brake tag is a Louisiana brake tag from 10 of 06, because he had just gotten the brake tag a few days before Katrina. 10 of 05 is when it hit.
So he was still driving the car.
He was driving this car 2 days before Katrina hit.
Wow.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you're going to the original paint color code from the factory.
We are,
which is the lower green and the upper white. The interior is so clean and original. And I even noticed, the headliner, it's just really a clean, original Survivor, especially having survived Katrina. You're going to do rotisserie, nut and bolt?
Yeah, as the plans are right now, we're going to do a complete restoration on it. That may change when we get it up to Castle Cadillac. But as of right now, that's the plan, is to do a complete and total restoration on it. From every nut and bolt, put it back the way it is. The car's got the value there, so we look at it like it's worth it.
Sure. No, absolutely. Original block, correct?
Original engine, original transmission, original rear end. Everything in its original. It's just dirty and a driver. That's it.
Hey, I think it's a pretty decent looking car. Even the chrome. There's hardly any pitting on the chrome. It's just a nice, solid, clean car. Okay, so you got a good file of paperwork.
Yes.
And what we've shared briefly here, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle, but it's all fallen in together that your car is an ironclad gift car from Elvis. And I say gift car, the Elvis purist collectibles, they're all about, okay, Elvis owned the car. Did he give it away? Did he drive it? Are there pictures of him in it? Mm-hmm. But to me, a lot of it doesn't matter. When you think about it, worldwide, billions of cars on the planet, and there's probably less than 500 that Elvis actually wrote a check for and bought. So it's a small, it's a small number. Mm-hmm. But your car is exceptionally a small number for the fact it is a 50s era gift car. I know of no other 50s era gift cars on the planet. I just don't. I've heard rumors of them. We have pictures of Elvis driving many of the cars. We don't know where they're at. We see him at Graceland. We see him in them at the gates. We don't know where the cars are at. They're probably crushed, buried in a yard somewhere, and then never to be discovered as Elvis's Connection. So your car kind of went off the radar. Mm-hmm. And then you, hey, it supposedly belonged to Elvis. You and your wife have gone back through all this paperwork. And we'll start at the beginning. The most recent, of course, and probably the golden seal, if you will, is from Graceland. Mm-hmm. Jeff, you mentioned, regarding archives, sent you this letter. And again, they don't tip their hat. They don't show you a lot of information. They just don't operate that way. So they've given you this. Going backwards, tell me briefly about the registry with Cadillac and what your wife discovered, and we'll just kind of take it back to that era of the 50s and the name Connection.
Sure. So we contacted GM Historical Society, to just get a background on the vehicle, since that's the best way to start when you get a 1950s vehicle and you don't know the background on it. Cadillac was different than Chevrolet and some of the other GM vehicles because they were the top, they were the pinnacle. So they kept detailed records on the Cadillac vehicles, and they'll tell you everything. They'll tell you when the assembly crew had lunch. I mean, it tells you everything. There's everything detailed in this for as it went down the assembly line. So what we ended up coming back with from the GM Media Archives and Historical Society was a letter stating that that vehicle, the VIN number range, fell within the range of vehicles that was delivered to Southern Motors in Memphis, Tennessee. And then it was delivered and accepted by a gentleman by the name of S.B. Hirsch. So we didn't know who that person was. We thought at the beginning, okay, is that the person who got the car? You know, is that the person who Elvis gave it to? And it turns out, no, that later on, that was the salesperson who in the middle of the night, when Elvis when he got a hair and said, okay, let's go spend a ton of money, that's the salesperson at Southern Motors that would personally go down there and walk for hours with Elvis and say, you want that car, that car, that car, and he would work it out with him
in the middle of the night.
I remember reading that he would wipe out the dealership and he would, take all of the cars.
And,
that's fantastic.
And Joe, I believe, is the gentleman's name, who was the owner of Southern Motors at the time, and his son later on took over the dealership, and supposedly to this day has all the records of all the Cadillacs that were ever bought and sold. And he's got it in a warehouse someplace and only allows specific people to get to that at certain times. So there might be more information there, you know.
Even beyond Graceland's archives.
Even beyond Graceland's archives, but apparently that, I don't know the whole story with it, but it's only limited people get to look at that stuff.
No, hey, that's cool. And I mean, you and your wife have done a bang-up job.
Sure.
I'll say with Cadillac, having delved into looking on a background check on a Lincoln, Lincoln's really doesn't come close to the registry documentation that Cadillac provides. Lincoln, there's even like a write-in. If you're a member of the Lincoln Club and you think your car belonged to so-and-so, you can enter that information on your own, and it kind of becomes a matter of record, which is really erroneous information.
It's not verified.
It's not verified, thank you. And where this, you can't get beyond the VINs and all the numbers. I mean, it's just
this is a copy of the microfiche that's on GM's records. So as the sales were done, they would report the information to GM, and that's where this information comes from. Basically, what this does is tell you the engine serial number, the VIN number of the vehicle, which they really didn't have a VIN then, but it was something sort of a VIN, and it was like a body code and so forth. But this tells you every single thing, and tells you one of the important things is where the vehicle was delivered. And here we see that the outlet code for this VIN number here is Memphis, Tennessee. So as we chased this down, and we were talking about previously, S.B. Hirsch, turns out, was that salesperson working for Mr. at Southern Motors. So my wife decides to go full Rockford on us here and finds a 1954 registry in the telephone book.
That's a directory.
In the directory for Memphis, Tennessee, back in 1954, and there is Mr. S.B. Hirsch listed as the sales manager for Southern Motors.
Wow. This is a true family affair here.
Yes,
I like it. But the research, again, I'm really impressed because none of this fell in your lap.
No.
None of this fell in your lap.
No.
And I got to tell you, I've had more battles dealing with 70s era gift cars. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but no pun intended. Here we're talking about music. But regarding your Cadillac, again, a 50s era gift car, they just do not exist. So, and it's considering it survived Katrina, it's a great car. So you got the paperwork, you've got the golden seal from Jeff at Graceland. Once it's restored, when you figure out all the, what you're going to do to it in New York, then you'll probably discuss getting it to Graceland, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you never own one of these cars. You're just the custodian. That's all. So you have to take care of it and preserve it for the people in the future. And I understand this was not a vehicle that Elvis drove himself, but it was a direct reflection of his success.
Absolutely.
And, you know, there's not that many people that can actually go out and say, wow, I just struck it big. I signed my first recording, you know, contract, and now I'm going to go give away. At that time, a car was like a house, you know, as far as money. So
Very early in his career.
yeah, it's
too.
very early in his career. He goes on, and then, you know, he gives away these cars like we give away, you know, thank you letters. And, you know, so while, you know, the car, I love it, it's a thing where I think it's better for everybody to appreciate it. And the setting, that's, you know, it's just overall a closer tie for where it came from. So yes, to answer your question, if we can put it in the Graceland Museum, you know, looking its best and back to its former glory, then yes, that is the plan, and
That's a good
let
plan.
everybody appreciate it
Yeah.
at that point.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what a fantastic story. You've truly, I mean, you're a big part of having saved that car, and I mean the due diligence of it. Maybe I'll give all your credit to your wife here on the
That's okay.
on the research.
I do too.
So I don't know who to ask in the family here, but I'm going to ask. Typically, you go to the wife, and she's a immediate yes. But so, would you ever sell the car?
Not right now, no. At some point, you know, everything's for sale. Everything has a price. But for right now, no. This one has a spot in our hearts, and we're gonna hold on to it for a while.
Would you ever sell the car?
Yeah.
I don't think so. We love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have plenty of space.
No,
You know, it's not like
no,
there's a
you do.
shortage
You
of space.
You got a beautiful place here.
That's right.
Thank
And
you.
I don't blame you. I really don't. I mean, this car is fantastic.
It's a work of
just-
art.
It might find a temporary home up there in Graceland for
Sure.
a while.
And really, that would be a great spot for you to take the kids up and show them
That's-
through Graceland.
Absolutely.
That's the plan. Yes.
Very cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Nice meeting you.
Great work on the
you.
restoration. So what a great day. What a great yesterday too. Started out in Louisiana, Jerry Lee Lewis's birthplace. Doesn't get any better than that. Except here we are in Elvis's Cadillac, and well, it's time to go back to Nashville in my blue suede shoes.